You're reading through a set of instructions. Something flat pack, maybe. Numbered steps, one leading to the next. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. You follow along. Then you turn the page and you're at Step 5. You stop. You go back. You look again. Step 4 is not there. There's no note saying it was removed, no indication that anything is wrong. The page simply isn't there. You know something is missing, not because you know what Step 4 said, but because the numbers skipped. The gap is the signal. Now ask a harder question. What if the steps weren't numbered? What if each page just had instructions, no labels, no sequence markers? You'd have no way to know something was missing until the instructions stopped making sense, until you tried to attach Part C to Part B and found that Part B didn't exist yet and had no idea why. Detection would require understanding. The gap would be invisible until it became a failure. Sequence numbers solve exactly this problem. And the way TCP uses them to detect loss is worth understanding precisely because it's more subtle than it first appears. When a receiver is collecting packets, it doesn't just accept them passively. It tracks where it is in the stream. It knows what it has received, and it knows what byte position it's expecting next. Each packet that arrives carries a sequence number, the position of its first byte in the overall stream. The receiver checks that number against what it's expecting. If the arriving packet matches, it advances. If the arriving packet is ahead of what's expected, if its sequence number is higher than the next expected byte, the receiver holds it. Something should have arrived first, but hasn't. There's a gap. Here's what the receiver does with that information. It sends an acknowledgment back to the sender. An acknowledgment carries a single number, the position of the next byte the receiver is waiting for. Think of it as the receiver saying, "I have everything up to here. Send me what comes next." As long as packets arrive in sequence and no gaps open, that acknowledgement number advances continuously. The sender watches it climb, and as long as it climbs, everything is working. When a gap opens, the acknowledgement number stops advancing. A packet arrives. It's out of order, ahead of the gap. The receiver holds it. It sends back an acknowledgement, but the acknowledgement number is unchanged because the gap still hasn't been filled. The next packet arrives, also ahead of the gap. The receiver holds it too, sends back the same acknowledgement number again, the same number, a third time. From the sender's perspective, something specific has happened. The acknowledgement that should be climbing is frozen. The receiver is receiving packets. The sender knows this because acknowledgements keep arriving, but the receiver is stuck waiting for one particular position in the stream. 3 of the same acknowledgement in a row is the signal the sender uses. It's called a triple duplicate acknowledgement, and it tells the sender there's a gap at a specific position. Data is still flowing, but something at that exact position never arrived. This is the fast detection path. It's fast because it doesn't require waiting. As soon as enough out-of-order packets have accumulated to generate 3 duplicates, the sender acts. It doesn't wait to see if the missing packet might still show up. 3 duplicates is enough. But there's a second detection path, slower and less precise, the timeout. Sometimes there are no duplicate acknowledgements. Sometimes a gap opens and nothing arrives after it, not out-of-order packets, not anything. The acknowledgement number freezes and then goes quiet entirely. The sender stops hearing from the receiver at all. In this situation, there's no fast signal. The sender has to wait. Every TP connection tracks how long since it last heard back. If that silence extends past a certain threshold, the sender declares a timeout and assumes loss. Timeouts are the blunter instrument. They're slower than duplicate acknowledgements by design. The timeout period is intentionally generous because the sender needs to be sure the silence isn't just a slow network, not a broken one. But timeouts catch what duplicate acknowledgements miss. The cases where loss is severe enough that nothing at all is getting through, not just one missing piece in an otherwise flowing stream. Between duplicate acknowledgements and timeouts, TPP maintains continuous awareness of the stream's state. And here's the part worth pausing on. The sender never directly observes the loss. It can't. Packets don't send back a distress signal when they're dropped. A router that discards a packet due to a full buffer doesn't notify anyone. The packet simply stops existing. The network announces nothing. What the sender observes instead is absence. The absence of a progressing acknowledgement number. the repetition of the same acknowledgement, the silence that stretches past the timeout threshold. Every detection mechanism in TCP is at its core an inference from missing information. The loss is invisible. The signal is the shape of what doesn't happen. This is why the endpoint design matters so much. The network in between is stateless. It moves packets, drops packets when necessary, and reports nothing either way. The intelligence has to live at the ends of the connection, in the machines that sent and received, because they're the only ones maintaining state. The sender keeps track of what it sent and what has been acknowledged. The receiver keeps track of where it is and what it's waiting for. Between the two of them, running this feedback loop, transmit, acknowledge, check, detect, they maintain a shared picture of exactly what got through. The gap in the numbered pages tells you something is missing. The frozen acknowledgement number tells the sender the same thing, with more precision. Not just that something is missing, but where. Sequence number 47 was acknowledged. Sequence number 48 was not. Everything beyond 48 is held, waiting. The gap has a specific address. That specificity is what makes the next step possible. Detection is not the end of the story, it's the prerequisite for repair. Before anything can be retransmitted, before the stream can resume, before the receiver can release all the data it's been holding, the sender has to know something is missing and know exactly what it is. Sequence numbers and acknowledgements together build the feedback system that makes this possible. Without that system, the sender would have no idea what to do about silence. With it, silence has a meaning and a response.